Hey everyone, I'm Jenny and I blog at thedomesticwildflower.com and I'm going to teach you how to crochet so that you can make a homemade basket like this or some other awesome crocheted item. So this yarn that I'm using today is a really big, bulky, felted wool yarn called Love Fest. Love Fest Fibers Tough Love. And it's about as big around as a dime, and it's really strong, and it's really easy for beginners to work with, so I recommend it. So the very first step in learning how to crochet is you need to make a slip knot. So if you know how to make a slip knot, go ahead and just make one right now. And if not, I'm going to show you right now. So let's create like a ribbon shape, like a like Red Ribbon Week ribbon, and fold the ribbon over on itself and pull that through. Perfect. Okay, a slip knot is a slip knot because it can slip up and down really easily. Okay, that's the very first step. So once you've made your slip knot, now we're ready to chain. So chaining is pulling yarn through a loop and then repeating it. So the idea is that we're going to be building a chain onto which we will build our other stitches. So the chain is like the foundation layer when you, if you were to lay a brick wall. You have one row of stitches onto which other stitches will be built. So that's the very first step. And this might look familiar. I know my dad winds up electrical cords like this, so this might seem familiar to you. So I have my two fingers, and if you have a crochet hook, you can of course use a hook too. The crochet hook has to be about as big around as at least as big around as a quarter. Two fingers through the loop. I'm going to turn my back to you so you can see what it would look like if it was in your lap. Pinch the loop or pinch the yarn and pull through. Now your two fingers are through the loop again. Pinch, pull through. 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 So there we are. That's chaining. You see the really big spaces right there and right there and right there. That is where you will build your next row of stitches. So when you use really big yarn, it's very easy to see where your finger or the hook is supposed to go. When you use small yarn, it can be a little bit more difficult. So big yarn allows you to really see where your next stitch will be built. So because we've laid this nice foundation, this chain, we will build vertically these stitches that'll be a little bit taller on top of them, and we'll work our way horizontally across the chain. So I'm going to undo. It's really easy to undo. That's what I love. Crochet is so forgiving in that way. You can just start again. I'll show you left-handed. Okay, I'll start actually from ground zero. There's my slip knot. Okay. It's always it's bigger around than a golf ball, give or take, comfortably around both of my fingers. So I'm going to bring the yarn up and pinch it in between my pointer and my middle and just pull through. And I'll repeat. Pinch, pull through, pinch, pull through, pinch, pull through. And you'll notice that at no point am I pulling down or cinching down or tightening. It can be really easy going, and it really, once you get comfortable, it should really be a relaxing activity. So be mindful of where your shoulders are. You don't want your shoulders to end up around your ears. So we want to try and bring our shoulders down and away from our ears, relax a little bit, and pull the yarn up in between our two fingers, or three fingers in my case, and pinch and pull through. Pinch, pull through. I'm using my thumb to help me along a little bit, and that's fine. Okay, so there we are. There's our chain. So again, you see those big spaces? That's where we're going to be building our next stitches. That will create a fabric or a basket or a cat bed or a fun poof, it'll create the fabric for it horizontally and vertically. It'll create a fabric. Okay, so I'm going to take my fingers, my 2 fingers, and put them in the loop again. And I'm going to kind of turn this whole thing on its side. So I'll be working from this side across. If you're left-handed, it will be in reverse. And we'll be building a stitch right here in that space, that nice big space right there. That's where I'm going to be building my stitch. So I'm going to take my 2 fingers, put them inside the loop, and then I'm going to stick it into that space that I pointed out to you. I'm going to grab the yarn from behind and pinch it in between my pointer and middle and pull it through. Now, both of my fingers have 2 loops. Now that I have 2 loops, I'm going to pull the yarn up again and pinch and pull through 2. And that is my first crochet stitch. So that one looks a little bit short and rounded because it's on the end, and that's okay. I'm going to repeat the process. I'm going to take my 2 fingers, put it in the loop. My next space onto which I'll be building my next stitch is right there. Right there. So 2 fingers in, stick my fingers into the space, pinch the yarn that's behind, and pull through. Now there are 2 loops on my fingers, yarn up, pinch, pull through 2. Okay. One little way to remember where the yarn that's connected to the ball of yarn is, it's always in the same way that the sun is always behind the mountain before it rises up over the horizon, the yarn is always in the back. Okay, it's always behind, and that's always where you have to go to grab it. You always have to go beyond the horizon to pull it forward or pull it through your loops, okay? So I always like to just remember that it's the sun comes from behind the horizon, right? And that's how you can imagine that's where your yarn is coming from, okay? It's always coming from behind. So you don't want to end up like reaching towards your lap, towards your elbows, towards your chest. You want to be reaching toward the horizon, and that's from where you will retrieve your yarn. Okay, so we've made 2 stitches, 2 fingers into the loop. I'm going to stick into the next space. Pinch, pull through. Now I have 2 loops on my fingers. Pinch, pull through 2. So I'm building these stitches. See how this chain, there's a chain left over here that has no stitch in it. It's short. And over here, it is getting thicker and taller. Also notice that the tops of the stitches, see how that looks like kind of like a heart, or like a stylized heart, or a or it looks exactly like the knit on your knit sweater, because crochet and knitting are very, very similar, and they really are like different ways of doing the same thing. So that's another way you know you're doing it right, because it looks just like that, right? And see those little loops that kind of create like a hat or another foundation layer for the next row of stitches that you will create. Okay, so let me finish. We'll do one more. So I'm going to take my 2 fingers or my hook through, stick through the big space there, pinch the yarn that's behind the mountain, pull through. I have 2 loops, pinch, and pull through. Okay, so there are my 4 crochet stitches. Now I'm going to turn the corner. When you are crocheting a rectangle, you will flip it like this and just repeat the process. So I'm going to take my 2 fingers into the loop, and now the space looks a little different than it did the first row. But it's right there, or right there, and right there, and right there. So I'm going to take my 2 fingers that are through my loop, stick it underneath the hat or the heart or the top of that stitch, pinch the yarn, pull through. Now I have 2 loops on my fingers / hook, pinch, pull through. Okay, I've got one loop on my fingers, 1 stick through, pinch, pull through. wrap, pull through 2. Okay, there we go. So you can see how in very little time and no confusing acronyms or lingo that you didn't already know before, you can start to crochet and crochet something fast and big and beautiful. And I hope that was helpful. Thank you guys.